I'm always talking about food forests, why they are so cool and why we should plant them. And today is the ideal time of the year to show you why, because it's very simple. I can just walk you around and you'll see. So this is my garden, and we're gonna have a look at the trees that are standing just outside of my garden and in the neighbor's garden. So here we can start with a chestnut tree. This chestnut tree is probably around 70-80 years old, or maybe even older, and without doing anything it produces lots of chestnuts, which are great and which will be harvested in a little bit less than 2 months. Then there you can see a walnut tree. Next to it there's an apple tree, which by the way is dying unfortunately, but it's still there. Behind it is a chestnut tree, and we're gonna look closer later. This here is a hazelnut, which is producing abundantly at this moment of the year. The big guy over there with the broken branches, it's also a hazelnut, that guy. And there are actually lots and lots of hazelnuts on the ground. And so what I've been doing, maybe you heard it, there was a hazelnut that was just falling out of the tree. And so over the last weeks I've been collecting lots and lots of food. Look, here they are, hazelnuts. I haven't really cleared this area of all the vegetation, which is a pity. I should have done this, so I'd be able to collect much more. But already what I found there is not bad. And I also got lots and lots of walnuts. I know several trees that are planted around this village and another village, and they are there. No one does anything to them. In a dry year they won't produce much. In a year with quite some rain, they suddenly give a lot of food. And here I'm gonna show you the trees in the garden of my neighbor. This here is a very good, very nice apple. Unfortunately, this apple tree is dying. It provided very abundantly last 2 or 3 years, but now it's basically almost dead. As you can see, there's a mushroom up there, which ain't a good sign, unfortunately. Then here we have this chestnut tree, which I don't know if it's yes, it's producing too. Up there are lots of chestnuts, and this guy here is amazing. This is a pear, and this guy, actually I hadn't tasted it before, but it produces lots and lots of great fruit. As you can see, it's loaded with pears. And on the ground, I don't even bother to get up there. I just wait till they fall, because there are plenty on the ground. Plenty. And so yeah, this basically is a beautiful pear. They often have a little bit of damage, of course, when you collect them on the ground. Some have a lot of damage. I don't get them, like this guy. But actually there's enough for me to collect and to eat, and to feast on them every single day for a few weeks. And so yeah, there you can see another hazelnut. And up there actually there are 2 apple trees. Let me zoom in a little bit. Well, you won't be able to see it very clearly, but up there, and there are 2 apple trees completely abandoned in a forest of brambles basically and ferns, and they are loaded too this year. It's pretty incredible. And so yeah, it's very easy, when you choose perennials, so trees and shrubs mostly, for your food production, because in the right conditions of course, but in many conditions, in many places around the world, you can choose crops that are adapted to the place, and you basically don't do anything, especially once they are 3-4 years old and they are more or less autonomous for water especially. And then you just wait and you collect once the fruit or the nut is ready. Very easy. And yeah, it's pretty incredible that we don't have those kind of systems everywhere in our gardens, in our cities, because back in the day, like here in Corsican for example, it's not that long ago, it's just 1.5-2 centuries ago, all the villages in the mountains, they consisted of basically, they called it orchards, but they were kind of food forests with lots and lots of fruit trees, and especially hazelnuts and especially chestnuts as a staple food crop, because they made chestnut flour from from the chestnuts, and this was their basic food crop like 150 years ago. And they survived on this. You know, they didn't have much wheat at the time, and so they would make bread, and especially polenta, kind of yeah, what you normally make from corn, or what can be made from corn, but they made it from chestnut flour. Yeah. And it's really inspiring, you know, for future food systems, because look, by the way, kite. Because those systems, they are just super sustainable, more than sustainable. They are literally regenerative in the right conditions. You plant those guys, and those guys, they will just multiply themselves, you know, with all the chestnuts and walnuts and hazelnuts, etc. that fall. And I can show you the evidence. For example, I have lots of chestnuts in my garden, like this one, that pop up everywhere. I didn't plant them at all, and they will basically reclaim this land if we just wait long enough. In a few decades, there will be chestnut trees everywhere, and they are the most adapted and the tallest of almost all the species that I planted in this food forest. So they will probably, if I would abandon this place, take over. And in this area here, I have lots of hazelnuts, which is not that strange because there's this hazelnut tree up there. And so I saw lots of them. By the way, another chestnut. This guy just grew next to my gooseberry. Interestingly, there's another one. And so actually you can see succession here taking place. So I started with gooseberries. Here is a row of gooseberries for fruit production, and they are productive the first years. And then you can plant, I didn't do this on purpose, but you can plant your later successional species like chestnut, hazelnut, walnut, apple right next to it, and they will take over. They will outshade these gooseberries in a few years, although they do actually appreciate quite some shade. But yeah, this is temporal thinking. And so here you can see another hazelnut tree that's established, and there are lots of small ones like next to the fence up there. Oh yeah, there, by the way, you can see many of them there. They have a bit of white on their leaves because there's a kind of disease from China, I believe, or from Asia, and yeah, it's basically causing some problems. Up there, another chestnut, there, another hazelnut. Just everywhere, you know, everywhere there's food, and it's especially in this period of the year that you can really see it because everything is falling down, all the fruits and the nuts.